is the Dawg Pound. You know, ladies and gentlemen, business has normalized again. Who'd have thought? You know, a couple of months ago, the manufacturers were swearing on the Bible, on their mother's grave, that they would never, ever, ever go back to excessive inventory. But all of a sudden, what are we seeing? We're seeing rebates. We're seeing discounts on the automobiles. I mean, the manufacturers are cutting back. Who would have thought? I mean, I live in Atlanta, Georgia, and every 5 minutes there's the bow tie guy and Linda Beaver talking about huge discounts, talking about rebates, talking about all sorts of things you wouldn't believe. SFE, Trump money, it's all back. And to discuss it with us today, I've got the largest General Motors dealer in the entire state of Georgia, probably 3 states surrounding, Southtown General Motors dealerships, my friend Bill Hall. Hello, Bill.
Hey, Jim, how are you?
Bill, am I lying?
No, you're not. It's about the volume, and that's why I think I messaged you about a week ago on this topic because I've spoken about it a lot. Even a year ago, I was telling people this was coming, but nobody was.
No, we're not saying the manufacturers are stupid. We're just going to let the evidence speak for itself.
Exactly.
And from the Cavalli organization, the director of operations, a good friend of mine, Geno Walsh. Hey, big guy.
How we doing, Jim?
Tell me about it. Am I lying?
You're not lying. We this year we ran out of Audi automobiles at one of our stores, and we actually have inventory now. And we had 17 Volkswagen at our Brandon store, and we're going to have over 150 of them by the end of the month. So the inventory is definitely back, and my floor plan expense can prove it.
Did you say 150 VDOT, Geno?
Yep.
Wow. That's a lot of old units in the making.
Oh, it's going to get better. And from Phoenix, Arizona, the director of marketing for the entire Horn Group, my good friend, April Simmons.
Hey. What a fun topic. What a fun way to get February off and running. I think everybody on this show expected us to be sitting here, but we have actually been tracking for the last couple of years new cars on the ground on a daily basis at all of our stores, just so we could watch trends, make sure that they kept turn up, because we realized, the faster you turn, the more inventory you've got. For the first time in almost 2 years, we ended January with double-digit vehicles on the ground. So yes, we're starting to see not just in the advertising messaging changing, but also in the way that we handle consumers. Internet leads, people are starting to ask for discounts and wanting to talk about payment and all those things. So getting away from the one question of, do you have it?
Is it there?
We're here to work a car deal now. So I know we're all shocked on this broadcast, but no, not at all. Not a little bit.
And dealers are training their employees again. All of a sudden,
they're smart.
They are smart. I'll tell you what, I haven't been in the training business for a couple of years, but all of a sudden I've got more than I can handle. It's crazy. And now the empress of executive management. This one was brilliant women in the car business. My friend Jennifer Briggs. Hi, kid.
Hey, Jim. I definitely. It's interesting, like April said, we've been talking about this for a long time. And, while everyone else is asleep at the wheel or has been asleep at the wheel and being circumstantially successful over the last 12 to 18 months, I think the real savvy folks have been digging in, looking at processes, improving training, trying to make sure that everything is in line for the most efficient and effective as we are coming into this normalization.
Normalization. Well, it's going to get abnormalization because I'm telling you what, the manufacturers, this group, everybody on this broadcast has said it. Even the guests have said it on this broadcast in the past. Not only are we going to normalize, but as soon as market share starts to drift, you're going to see built to order go right out the window. Built to order is going to be a distant memory. And who has said that more than our resident curmudgeon himself, director Moscow Russian, the mad Russian, Max Zanan?
Hey, Jim.
Is that all you got for me? Hey, Jim.
He's so
Listen,
bashful.
you know, I'm waiting for the great realignment. You know, because a lot of dealers are like in La La Land the last 2 years, right? And they got used to, you know, incredibly high gross profits. And I think at this point, they're beginning to realize that it's going to be the same type of a grind like it used to be before the pandemic. And I don't think many of them have in it to win it. And I think they will be putting up their stores for sale. And the real
think so?
operators,
You think so?
I think the real operators will be able to consolidate. And I think the business needs it because car business is the most fragmented business in the United States, right? If you compare it to any other industry, there is no industry as fragmented as car business, right? I mean, if you look at AutoNation, which is like the largest auto group, right? They only have 330 locations, which is less than 2% of new car dealers in America. Right, so we need this consolidation. We need the real winners to take advantage of the situation, and it'll be
Okay, well,
better.
save some of this for the broadcast. I've still haven't introduced Bobbie yet.
Sorry.
Save some. Hey, Max, I got one question to ask you.
Sure.
When are you going to take down your Christmas tree?
I was just going to do that. Get it together.
I can't. You know, I think I'm at a point where I'm just going to keep it the entire year.
Oh, my word. Okay. And the queen of BDC, the business development queen, my good friend, Bobbie Herron, Bees Knees Agency. Hi, kid.
Hi, you. This is always a great topic, I think, because, you know, I'm the silver lining person. Jennifer's over here with her villain hands. I don't know if you saw
I
that.
know.
Silver lining person. And this is a great opportunity for dealers, for customers, and for the employees and the teams inside of them. So I'm excited to talk about this today.
Well, you know, I always like jumping on Jim Farley. And of course, this is all my opinion. Did everybody hear this? Opinion. That's some legal shit. Okay, this is all my opinion, but you know, we are not done doing stupid things and reacting. I got something that the dealers received yesterday. Everybody ready?
Oh yeah, I'm scared.
Look at this.
Yeah.
We have dropped the pricing on the Mustang Mach-E, $1,000 a unit. The extended
so
range
popular.
battery. What?
Because it's so popular, right? The only way to deal with this popularity is to reduce the price.
No, you're not saying that's one ugly car, are you?
You know, Max cannot handle the thought of an EV just being even in production.
I'm saying
Literally
there's
bring the light
so many.
inside.
Listen, I think whoever agreed to dilute the Mustang brand and slap Mustang on this EV disaster deserves to be launched. Like they should start the launch sequence right now. You know, and rename it into something else that's going to fail and go into obscurity.
You mean
Mustang
somebody
is an
should put a finger
Mustang
on
is
their
an
head and Bill
American
Ford?
legend.
Like
Guys,
somebody
Mustang is
should
an
put their
American
finger
legend.
on their head and
Dilute
Bill
that
Ford
name.
should kick them through the field goals?
Max
Right.
can handle the emasculation of the Mustang in his mind with it being.
I cannot handle it, Bobbie. You're right.
Can't do
Because Mustang is an American legend. It's a two-door muscle car. It's not a 4-door SUV wannabe, blah, blah, blah.
You don't get it, Bobbie. It's a boy thing.
Right.
I
Thank
know.
you.
Believe me.
Wait, yeah.
I don't know if
Bobbie,
you know this,
former
but,
general manager of a
I
Ford
get
store,
it.
doesn't get it.
Yeah.
You're right.
Not a boy thing. It's
Yeah.
a love of
Okay,
muscle
everybody
car
trying to
thing.
talk at the
Muscle
same
car.
time. Let's slow down a second. Go back to Bill Hall. Bill, you inspired this broadcast. I saw it, and like I say, you are the biggest General Motors dealer in the state of Georgia, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
That's accurate
My brands, yes. Yes.
for your brands, absolutely. What are you seeing here? What are you experiencing?
I just looked before we come on there. I have a few trucks that are now at 10 grand off. So
Oh,
I was probably the first to let me just real quick. I'll go back. I brought this up to you because I thought it was extremely interesting, and this is not just from a perspective of people outside the business. I've had these conversations with my 20 group, with my LMA for the last 12 to 16 months, 18 months, mainly based around the fact that there were actual dealers, and they're dealers in this business, believe it or not, that thought that this was the new normal, that we were going to continue like this.
Oh, a lot of them bought into it.
Oh yeah, not just bought into it, but they actually promoted it and said, "Oh well, we're all going to stick to, now from here on out. We've learned our lesson, and we can make money."
Bill, there were certain bell cow dealers in the manufacturer's pocket who were there like the Judas goats leading the other dealers down the path.
Yeah,
I mean, that's like basic economics. It should not be that complicated.
that was where I was going, Jen.
Yeah.
All I said in there is I said, listen, if you haven't learned supply and demand from the time you entered this business, then you don't need to be in the business. Like, it's simple. It's basics. I mean, when the vehicles start to come, the manufacturers aren't going to purposely hold back vehicles. They're built on market share. I don't care what profitability they showed, or market share is what it's all about. So when they're able to make vehicles, they're going to make as many as they can. I got 400 almost new vehicles here and in the pipeline. I had 130 just a year ago. So I have 40 Envisions. Imagine that. Buick. But they needed me to take them, so I took them. Buick. I do very well on Buick, where a lot of people struggle. But I say that to say the manufacturers are back in the game. The signs have been coming. They might have talked.
Hey, Bill.
Yes.
Bill, they've been waiting for this moment. They heard us crying and complaining for the last 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
We need cars, and they've been sitting there going, "Oh, I can't wait to give you cars," because they are just going to lay us away with as much inventory as they possibly can.
You think so?
Because here's how I know how manufacturers work. They only get paid for two things. If we take on a full car, which we pay them immediately when we get the car, right? And then the second side of it is that they have parts. So the less cars that there's out there, the less parts that can be built. They don't get paid for us building buildings. They don't get paid for us putting EV chargers in our facilities. They don't get paid for most of the things that are pain in the for the dealer, right? They only get paid when they print cars and they send us parts. So if they don't print enough cars, then they can't send us more parts, right? If you take a car and you buy it by part, it's a heck of a lot more expensive than whatever those discounts were. So that's why you're seeing them push to try to get as many cars on the road so they can get that market share. And that's why I knew the moment somebody had inventory and had chips and somebody had an opportunity to start putting cars out there, the rest of them were going to follow. No one's going to sit there and allow a whole generation of car buyers to get swooped up by Kia or a Hyundai or any of the other manufacturers that are out there. They're not going to sit there and say, "Hey, we're going to be, built to order," and then watch Dodge just wipe them out, or watch Chevrolet wipe them out That was all a euphemism for we can't get you cars because we don't have our you know what together. That's really what it was. That was just a bide them some time until this moment occurred, and we're here at that moment now.
And
Well,
Geno,
General Motors and Ford. General Motors and Ford were charging headlong into the agency model, and now all of a sudden they're standing on the brakes with both feet. You know,
They run out of cash.
Oh, the bill
$2 billion. $2 billion they ran out of cash last year. I don't know if you got the news, but it wasn't a very good a year for Ford. Let's just put it that way. Bill, what did you say?
I was just saying that to piggyback on what you said and what Max said earlier about dealerships being available in about 12 to 18 months. You have dealers that actually still think that there's not going to be a first one to jump, even though not many in the metro area, I'll say, because I jumped a while ago, months ago, but that they could keep their, they were going to keep limiting their own inventory, keep their pricing at where it was before, and that they could somehow generate the same gross average profits when the supply was there from the manufacturer, which is totally is not going to happen. So, I mean, that's backwards thinking, but there are dealers, and again, I've encountered a number of them who think that just because this happened for 2 years or 2.5 years, that we can continue this somehow. And it's just not the case. It's not.
April, what are you seeing?
And what Max said, it's going to be the downfall of a lot of dealers. I would say, I said about a year, but I could give it up to 2 years. So between a year.
There's going to be some blood in the streets. April, what are you seeing?
We're going to buy stores. So any one of those stores that have made the bad decisions, we'll buy. Let's go. But everything Geno and Bill have said is 100% accurate. Most of us have been believing this for a long time. But the struggles are still going to hit home for us. So just because we all on this broadcast have understood this, we've all understood what was coming. We all knew that we had to plan. We all knew we had to keep our turn rate high so that we can keep running and gunning, so that on this side we get the inventory, and we're still going to run and gun and pivot quickly. The one aspect, and it goes back to what you kind of started with, Jim, which is the training. We have a lot of staff that isn't ready to accept the change, right? So one of the biggest struggles we're going to have to work through, especially in this first quarter, is if our mind's right, great. Now what do we got to do to get our staff's mind right? They need to get the tools in the tool belt. And even the training we've done over the last couple of years, I'm just going to call a spade a spade. It's fallen on deaf ears because it didn't matter. How they treated a customer didn't matter. What they said didn't matter. Whether they actually tried to sell didn't matter. None of it mattered. And now it matters. Mm-hmm. So if we want to make sure that we not only can keep running and gunning, we do have to go back, put our arms around our staff and make sure they know how to sell. Because I can tell you right now, a lot of them don't.
Oh, April, I am in the training business again, and I'm telling you, it is unbelievable. People are lining up for in-person training, Zoom training, because their people don't know how to sell cars. They've completely forgotten. It's been automatic.
Well, that's because we all thought the computer was going to do it, right? Like they just go onto the website and say buy here now, and that's how it works.
Oh, well, they thought digital retailing was going to be the.
April got jokes today. What about the marketing?
Digital retailing has its place. Yeah. What'd you say, Bobbie?
The marketing is about to get real interesting. All of a sudden, we're seeing that within competitive markets, everybody's realized that now they need to get back to what they were doing. People who canceled their SEO spends, which was stupid to say the least, the stupidest thing you could have done. People who canceled that are going to spend the next 6 months re-engaging with
Google is the battlefield.
It's about to get real nasty. It's about to get real expensive because cutting things like that at the most inopportune time and then just letting it roll means that now we're seeing a field of people being reactive instead of proactive. And that's unfortunate. But I'll tell you, there were a lot of smart dealers out there. We spend a lot of time talking about the ones that are doing it wrong, but there were a lot of smart dealers out there who did good with their training, killed it on their marketing, and now are proactively poised to dominate in their market. without having to change very much of what they were already doing.
Yeah, while
Bobbie, I
everyone
think
is
that's less than
struggling.
more of them.
Yeah, there are a
I
lot
think
struggling.
that's less of them than more of them.
Agreed. I agree. Yeah, but
Yeah.
it is happening, and I think that the marketing aspect combined with the training is going to be real interesting, because now all of a sudden we have to remember that what we were learning how to do before was communicate with other humans, and that's what we were attempting to do, to convert a lead into an opportunity for a conversation and to potentially sell a car to them. And now we have to get back to that.
Well, what you're gonna see happening with these dealers, and you're right, Jem, there are more of the ones who cut and took Easy Street, but those dealers are now going to have to pay more to generate opportunities for their untrained staff to waste. So you're going to see a lot of cost inefficiencies, and I think that's what's going to lead to. I'm sorry for my maniacal "let's scoop up these stores that are coming for sale" like hand thing when Bill said that earlier. But you are going to see that it's reciprocal. So if you have great training and great processes, you don't necessarily need to invest as much on the advertising standpoint. But if you cut everything because you didn't need to make the investment, and you cut things that take a long time to actually generate and to be efficient, you're starting back at square one with untrained staff. So I feel bad for you.
Well,
A lot of dealers lost their identity.
Well, Jim, let me ask you a question. Like here, let's talk about the all the way down at the street level. I've heard already from other dealers and from other vendors, maybe strategic partners, but that was another webinar for a different day. But I've heard that salespeople are literally saying this. Well, if we can't charge that addendum, then I can't work here anymore. Like that's the word, but that's the word that's on the street that's out there right now. Like some of these, and you know how salespeople are, they're communicating with each other.
Hey,
and they're gonna. It's like I keep saying, it's gonna be 2019 all over again, and everyone's gonna have to learn a different way to be able to hold on trades. They're gonna have to be able to, start without the incentives sometimes and then bring them in. They're gonna have to be able to communicate and follow up.
I'm teaching basic negotiation classes.
They don't understand that. Yeah, they don't even.
Basic negotiation. Geno's 100% right, and regardless of it all, we are going to lose. We're already seeing staff transitioning from one store to another. They're starting. The grass is greener over there now, and the grass is greener over there now that there's inventory on the ground, because people have an expectation of, here's the effort I put in, and here's the reward I get for it. And now we're saying you have to put in this effort to get this reward. And a lot of these people have not been doing this long enough to understand that is the normal. So no matter whether they're properly trained or not, we're still going to have a staff problem.
You got sales guys, Jim. This will put you right on. Sales guys that sold 400 cars last year that made over $500,000. Salespeople.
Not general managers.
Not general managers. Salespeople. And you know what's going to happen when the gross compression happens? They're going to have to sell 1,200 cars to make $500,000. But do you know how those folks are? They didn't. When that money started coming in, they didn't say, "Oh, let me adjust my lifestyle and start saving this money and put it in the T-bills."
Yeah, because
they started acquiring all that stuff.
On how to
right. Well, but in our leadership teams, did we set them up for that? Right? Like we've talked about that a lot, to say, are we setting these people up for success when we're bringing them into a business where things are easy right now? When we all know 20 plus years in this business, we all know that it is not easy. This is not an easy job. It's rejection all day long. It's consistency, and it's not something that's being taught right now. It's an unfair situation.
Just think about how many salespeople are going to quit just based upon that equation. You've got to sell 3 times the amount to make the same amount of money. That's the formula. Because if they were averaging about $1,000 a car.
I want to ask Bill and April and Geno a question. Built to order. The manufacturers, General Motors and Ford, I don't know about some of the brands you're working with, but April can fill us in too. They can't produce a car in a year. There are people that ordered a car a year ago and still haven't shown up. I mean, if they can't produce cars, and Ford's got severe quality problems right now, especially the Chicago plant. I mean, Can they produce built to order cars, Bill?
I actually still think that there will be a little bit of that. I don't think that goes away, because there are people that, even before all this, there were people that ordered vehicles, specialty vehicles for the most part, Corvettes, Escalades.
Some people did. Some people will do anything.
No, I'm just saying that
Bobbie HerrMax and I have argued about that many a show.
Some people will buy an EV
there
Mustang.
will still be there, is all I'm saying. That segment, which it was small, but that small segment that was there will still be there. We didn't have a sea change, which many people think we did. That's the point I think everybody is making. Like, there was the people that were comfortable ordering their vehicles prior to this are comfortable ordering their vehicles now, and the people that were comfortable ordering, looking at what you had incoming and buying it sight unseen based on it coming into the store would still be comfortable with
a minority of people, Bill. A minority of people, not the majority.
No, I'm not saying that's a majority. I'm saying that segment.
But the manufacturers tried to force it on the majority.
Yes, no, that was.
They tried to force everybody to order cars.
Yes.
Ford's got Broncos that've been on order for a year, and dealer across town's getting identically equipped to the one that the ordered person couldn't get. So, Geno, built to order, how's that working?
I mean, if it's a unique car that you're buying specifically with the red trim interior and the specific wheel,
the dually
combination,
truck,
order works. Yeah, that consumers, they want what they want when they want it, and they want it now. Like
instantaneous gratification.
So if it isn't there, then they're going to go find it somewhere else. I mean, we've seen that since we've been in the car business, right? It's nothing new.
But the manufacturers fell in love with Carvana and Tesla. They believed that direct digital retailing was the end all be all. We're going to deliver the cars at their home. They're never, you're going to have.
It's a component, but the natural instinct for customers, when they finally make a decision, they want it to be available to them. Like, if they're going to make a $70,000, $80,000, $100,000 decision, they want to do it now, right? So if you don't have the vehicle, you're not going to be able to get the car sale. The bigger thing, I think, with a lot of our consumers is, what consumers did we have from 2020 to 2022? Like, do you think that the customers that we had back then were easier going, and then the group of customers we're going to have in 2023, 2024, and 25, those are going to be the ones that were waiting for this moment too? So not only is the inventory all going to be there, but the diversity of the customers' negotiating skills are going to be a lot different, I think, going forward as well.
You were only waiting for this moment to arrive.
They were waiting for this moment to arrive. Whether it was a new car or a used car, they were waiting for this moment to arrive. And I think that's who, if the money doesn't push a lot of these sales guys out and these sales managers out, I think the customers that have been waiting, sharpening their negotiation bills, their swords and their knives, they can't wait to come down and take it out on you. That might send the rest of them out the door, right? Or at least a good component of it, because it was difficult. You have to do those 5, 6, 7 turns on just the price of a vehicle. If you remember, those days, they haven't felt those days for 3 years. Here's the number. No, I'm not going to take it. Okay, well, call me if you change your mind. What do you mean? We're not going to negotiate? Now, hey, Mr. Customer, can you come over here? This customer's not taking the one I just drove. Hey, wait, I'll pay.
Right.
Like, that's gone. Those days are gone.
Follow up on what you said, Geno, and again on that, the key was not training now. The key was training throughout this, and making sure that your salespeople understood. Number one, making sure that you had stability in your sales staff. My big thing on hands down, anything that's caused my success is keeping your people. I started out pre-COVID with 22 salespeople, and right now, about 3 years later, I've changed 2 actually over that whole time period. So if you kept your people, you kept training your people, You kept planting the seed that this was an anomaly, that this was not going to be this way all the time.
Right.
They saw it before, and now they're seeing it again. You're not going to lose those people that you would lose coming up now. You just kept it going, and you didn't want to discourage them and say, oh, this is not going to last, so, save your money or all that kind of stuff. But if you presented it the right way, in that, hey, make sure you keep these skills, make sure we still train every Saturday morning or whatever you did throughout this, even though you didn't technically need to because you had those customers, but you should have, and you prepared them for this, then you're in a much better situation right now going into all this than you are if you were scrambling to now all of a sudden training. And what Bobbie said, the SEO and all that was, a lot of people thought, oh, I'm making all this money, I can cut back on this.
They cut back their marketing. Bobbie's right.
The momentum is
Absolutely.
there, and you have to keep it, and you had to keep spending.
Yeah.
You had to keep your presence out there. So it was really keeping things the way they were, keeping your stability and your staff and preparing them for this, and constant training throughout. And I think that was key to all of these things.
You're absolutely right about that, Bill. You're absolutely correct.
This
Come on,
whole
April.
build-to-order thing just cracks me
I'll
up.
call back.
This build-to-order thing just cracks me up, because what I don't understand is how going into this, all these extremely wealthy, smart people, high education people really thought that this would stand the test of time. People did what they had to do out of desperation. If there was no other way to get a car but to order it, that's the only reason they did. The majority. There might be the 1%ers that still are going to order that specific Corvette or whatever. So since we like to use milk analogies, I'll use this. If your only chance, the only way you could possibly get milk into your home was to go out and milk the cow yourself, then that's what you would do, because that's the only option you have. But the second that the milk is on the shelves in the grocery store, or in my case, maybe even the CVS, because I really like convenience, then I'm going to roll right in there and pick it up and take it home. So now that we have stuff on our shelf again, what percentage of people are actually going to order vehicles are very, very small. And to Jim's point, there are people now where the car's on the ground across the street. So why are they going to even wait? I'm going to tell a story.
You got it. There's cars on the ground across the street, identical to the one they ordered a year ago that Ford and GM can't produce.
Plus, so I'm going to give you one right now. I've got a customer A, and we'll just call him customer A, who ordered a vehicle in the fall of 2021. Still, we have not received said vehicle, still have no ETA on said vehicle. And said manufacturer has told the consumer that we, the dealership, could have got the vehicle built faster. And so it's our fault that we have not.
Wait. Back up. Say that. Say that again.
That we now have a complaint, and the place you don't want a complaint because we can't produce the vehicle for the consumer. And according to the manufacturer, we should have been able to.
And I said this before, Jim. I said this before. The manufacturers can't lose us, because if they lose us, then they run out of excuses for when they fall short. I said this before when we talked about built to order, is that they're going to have instances like this where they have vehicles that I'm giving back refunds right now. We have 25 refunds we have to give back on some electric vehicles that came from one of our brands, 25 of them, right? But guess who's holding the bag? Us, the dealer. The dealer has to deal with the heat cases when there's a battery issue or an alternator issue, right? They need us more than ever because the consumer's expectations are like this high, and their delivery is about this low.
I mean, we are not anti-EV. I mean,
we are not.
That's never been the case.
I mean, I don't want one, but if somebody does, I'm not going to stop it.
Depends on what you mean by anti-EV, but I don't.
Right.
I mean, no, we are not fighting the EV trend. It's coming. It's here. It's going to crash hard, but no, that's their problem.
Well, and here's what I think. I think as we see the market come back into into some normalization. The areas that have strong lease penetration, who have always done really good with loyalty business, you're still going to see those orders because that's what we always did. We started talking to you 9 months or 6 months before your lease was up, and we had time to get you the exact vehicle that you wanted to replace your current lease with. But we know that regionally, I mean, I don't think most of America, again, coming from the Michigan market, so very blessed when it comes to lease penetration. And that's not the case across the country.
Which is
so
insane.
it's going to get into, that's how I was trained to sell. You
Me
get
too.
them in their ether, you get them excited, you get them in the car on the test drive, and they make an emotional decision. We win when they make that emotional decision. If you have nothing for them to be emotional about, okay, that makes it a lot more difficult. And customers are impulse buyers. And I have been in the business, like Bobbie said, 20 years, and even I impulse purchase vehicles sometimes because it has a really pretty, shiny, sparkly tint coat on it or something.
Well, Jennifer, everybody was saying that it's the Amazon effect.
That catches her eye.
Jennifer, everybody was saying it's the Amazon effect, but what they missed is that Amazon can deliver merchandise the next day. We're not talking 6 months, 8 months, a year.
Well, and we're also not talking about tons of thousands of dollars in an investment. Like I am more likely I get stuff delivered from Amazon every day. I don't even remember when I ordered it or when I put it on a subscription. But I promise you, if it was $50,000 or $70,000, I would be a lot less likely to just go for it without touching it. And for so many dealers across the country, it is the time. And Bill, good for you that you took the time with your teams to do those types of investments. And even with coaching, and I even tell salespeople in interviews, right, before any of this, we have a very cyclical year. You're going to have some months that are great and some months that are not so great. So it's important to understand how much you need to earn to keep a comfortable life, and then plan for the months when you're going to have ups and downs, not as a scare tactic, but to make sure I'm setting my team up for success. So good for you, Bill, but so many dealers have not done that. And I mean, we already have a management issue in our industry as it is because we don't train our managers. So saying shame on them, it's really shame on us at the executive level and the dealer principal level, because we've not taken the time to set them up for success so they can take care of our entire team.
Geno,
you're getting ready now, you got a lot of work to do because there are people like Bill and Geno and April and some other clients that we know are represented here that are way ahead of you. So you gotta get with the program pretty quick here.
Let me ask Geno a question. Geno, do you have a digital retail tool?
Absolutely, 100%.
Which one are you using?
We use Darwin.
Which one?
Darwin.
April, do you have a digital retail tool?
Yeah, I've had a digital retail tool for over a decade.
And Bill, what are you using?
I believe it is Roadster.
Roadster? Yeah. Everybody's using a digital retail tool, and I'm telling dealers right now, you need to have a digital retail tool, but don't expect it to do what they told you it would do.
Well,
I mean, there's some people that delivery at the house.
Jim, the digital retail tool's as good as your staff is on how to be able to communicate that purpose of the tool with the consumers that are online, whether it's through chat or it's the marketing that you put on your website, the videos that help people understand what that tool is, and then connecting that what the customer did at home to what happens when they get to the dealership. So it's
what they did at home. The manufacturers didn't.
We've been doing that since 2018 at our stores. We're single point of contact.
The manufacturers didn't get that, Geno.
Some of them did.
They looked at Tesla. They looked at Carvana, and this is before the Carvana crash. But they looked at Carvana. They looked at Tesla and said, "Man, people are going to buy cars and take delivery at home, and the showroom is dead." Guess what? The showroom is far from dead. How dead's the showroom, Bill?
It's not dead at all. And listen, that's because our last conversation, this was the point. It's been a few months, but what the manufacturers didn't understand was the difference in digital retailing, which we all have to do. We're living in a digital age. Everybody has to do, but that's not digital selling. So they did not understand the difference between digital retailing and digital selling.
You got it.
One thing,
you get the stuffed animal off the top shelf. You got it. Absolutely.
It blew my mind. With Car Bravo, it blew my mind even more when they sat
Car Bravo
and tried to get me to sign up for this mess. And I was like, Carvana is failing. Why would you want me to sign up for the same model? I never did. And a lot of bigger dealers never did either.
Oh, Carvana's reinventing themselves. Look at this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Carvana auction.
Carvana calls me and asks me if I want to advertise on their platform. I'm like, well, absolutely not. But I mean, that's your new marketing way of generating business. I don't know. But, you know, for General Motors to step in and create the Car Bravo, platform like Carvana, and that'll be gone, by the way. And
I want to know who just put this comment up, and I can't see it. But I would really like to know. So if you're the person who put it up, throw your name
right.
out there.
If you're commenting from a private Facebook group, it will not show us your username.
Yeah, we will know. But I'm curious because that's 100% accurate. That passive aggressive sarcastic comment is
Get them in.
accurate. I'm telling you what, Joe Webb has this video, right? It's like 15 years old now.
It's from 2012, Bobbie.
It's so old. You just go onto YouTube and put in Joe Webb, just get him in. And I still use it in trainings with Joe's permission because it cracks me up that we've come this far, all these many years, and we still say and do that same thing. It's my future husband.
So is that Joel? Is that Joel?
It's gotta be Joel. It's gotta be Joel. But
yes, emphasis on minimum wage, and I had this conversation too recently, which I don't know where some people are. I don't know if they're just panicking and starting to go a little bit crazy, but it was just a matter of, well, why a BDC situation? Why can't they just get them in? I'm like, because the lead is like 2 days old. That's why, and it's like from a high funnel lead source. So again, when I made mention of you're going to have to invest more in traffic that doesn't convert as much, if you're struggling, I mean, you've got to understand your consumer. It's the same thing. Like April was saying, I mean, I've been shipping cars all over the lower 48 for my entire career in automotive before digital retailing was even a thing. It's just giving your customers information, asking them questions, having a conversation, and taking great care of them. Period.
Hey, Jim, you're really good sometimes at diagnosing a potential issue, but I mean, what are we going to do as dealers knowing that gross compression is here? You know, for me, you know, we're going to be focusing on the discipline, passion, and bravery in our process, right? But we're going to also focus on the 3 components that have always been super successful for good dealers. One is service. It's got to be really good at your service and parts business. Number 2 is going to be used cars. And number 3 is going to be right up Max's alley, which is F&I, right? When the front end goes away because the factories oversupply us, because that's what we're talking about right now. Mm-hmm. The things that people need to focus in on is their service and their service process. Do you have a service CRM like Update Promise? Are you giving a level of customer service that they've never seen before? Because they can choose wherever they want to go for service too. Is your used car department turning the inventory properly and getting the right cars in front of the customers that are in your marketplace and serving your marketplace? And how good are you doing on F&I closing, right?
And how
I have inside information.
Probably call me because like supply and demand, my rates are going up quick.
I got inside information, guys. I know for a fact that two of the 3 major manufacturers, the domestic manufacturers, have already had meetings. They're going to double and triple up on warranty audits. Look for a wave of warranty audits, especially a company that just lost $1 billion is looking and I'm not
Two.
going to name a company, but they have already had meetings internally. They are geared up to double and triple up. Two of three manufacturers, domestic manufacturers, are going to double and triple up on warranty audits. It's coming. Dealers, remember I told you that. I've got real accurate sources. Remember I told you that. Be watching for warranty audits. They're coming, and they're going to be brutal. Have you ever been through a warranty audit, Bill?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Was it pleasant?
I was going to say, especially if you just got a big warranty increase last year. So look out, as we did. But yes, everything will be on the radar, and the warranty is a huge part. And even if you think you're crossing your T's and dotting your I's, you're really not. And with the notes, I relate warranty audits with, some other things where if they really want to find what they say in football, they say if they wanted to call holding on every play, they could call holding on every play, right? Because everybody actually holds on every play. It's just if you see it or not. So that's similar to what the warranty audit is. If they really wanted to find something on every RO or on every ticket, they could. So it's really how you play the game and what you do right, and how you handle your warranty situations and your claims. And let me just tell you, it goes back. It all goes back. It always does. But it really goes back to relationships, and the relationships you have and the relationships you carry with your local team.
Well, Bill, are you advertising discounts?
Huh? You'll look at my website, southtown.com, by the way. But yes,
Southtown.com. It's with an E on the end of Southtown.
Yeah, I checked earlier, and it was right at 10 grand off on Silverados. And we have some Encores, and those Envisions that I took 40 of are about 5 or 6 grand off. I will say also, if I don't know, but in the General Motors, and I don't know what others have on here, but we're starting to see that SFE and that money that kind of went away under the hood money, I guess, so to speak, coming back. Last month it was all the way up to $1,500 on Buicks, on Envisions, on SFE, and that went down across the board to a couple $100 a car, and that used to be the way, the volume. So when you see the SFE coming back, when you see the rebates coming back, when you see all that gradually coming up, what's coming on
the stair steps programs are coming back, guys.
Isn't it crazy that we can even say like all the way up to 1,500? Remember when we would be like 1,500? That's like a baseline. That was like,
yeah.
Now we're all the way back up.
You mentioned losing $1 billion. When a manufacturer loses $1 billion,
I think it was two. I think it was $2 billion.
It was $2 billion. I was being kind.
Yeah, but what's $1 billion? A couple of friends.
Because GM made 10, by the way, and Ford lost 2. So there's
General Motors lost $1 billion a year trying to prop up Saturn.
Oh yeah.
And they cut a profitable Oldsmobile trying to save Saturn.
You know what I'd like to see is what the strategies are that are going to come out of outside of what we know they should be getting out from being underwater in some of this trade inventory that we spent the last year talking about. Now that inventory is replenishing itself, and now that we're going to be flooding the market with end of model year vehicles.
And Bobbie, you were reading my mind, because I was going to say that. I was going to go to Max because he hasn't said much here on this.
Max is boiling. He's percolating over there.
He had a post about paying 10 grand over wasn't too smart. Didn't you just have that, Max, on there?
I did. Listen, I'm actually having like the best time of my life. The last 2 years.
This month in real life, so of course he is.
The last 2 years were kind of tough, because unlike you guys, I operate in the F&I space, right? And the F&I space, we don't enjoy $10,000 over sticker type of deals. So my business actually went down because the number of sales went down, right? So I make money based on product penetration. So the less cars you sell, the less products I sell, right? And during the last 2 years, when I would speak to a dealer, it'd be like, hey, if you do this and that, you can make a couple extra $1 million, and be like, who cares about a couple of $1 million? We can make this net, in 45 days. Who needs this? So now, I have a red phone, right? This thing is blowing up, blowing up, right? Like, how do we do reinsurance? How do we do dealer-owned warranty company? Exactly what Geno was saying. How do we actually make money when we lose money selling a car?
Yep.
Right? That's the reality that we all lived through before the pandemic, right? And I guarantee you, speaking of stair steps, the geniuses at Nissan and Hyundai are sitting right now working up the most convoluted stair step to bring back, right? Because the guy who's running Hyundai used to run Nissan. So it's going to be a cluster.
That's the Spanish guy?
Yeah, Munoz.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So
here's one of the biggest concerns I think that they're a little flat-footed on, especially manufacturers. Their lease programs are horrible right now.
Terrible.
And they cut back your spread on the interest rate in order for you to make money off of the rate off of a lease, right? So that was one of the only ways we can get somebody out of a car that was buried, right? We would be able to roll up the rate, cut the front end, and then get them out of the car that way. They're going to be in a pretty bad situation, I think, unless they get super. I mean, we're looking at 300 basis points is like your normal average number on a lease rate right now. That's crazy, right?
In our market, I'm up in Michigan, right? And like Jennifer, I grew up in this market. And so leasing is second nature to us. I go into some of the southern states and I'm like, wait, you don't know how to flip a lease? What are you doing? So I'm excited to see leasing come back and be real relevant.
I wish they would come back.
They got to get
in South Florida, we were an 85% lease penetrated store. They're down to 15% right now. That's how bad the programs are.
Which it's going to happen
for the high lines.
Yeah, stepping up that lease, the lease opportunities right now is going to be huge and going to be a huge benefit to some of the stores that otherwise are going to find themselves completely buried and underwater in the inventory that they have, as well as in trying to pull people out of those 10 grand pounders that they did.
Well, credit is on a big decline. Now, Bill, you're the guy I would ask about this. What are you seeing credit scores dropping on the customers walking in the door?
Not overall yet. What I am seeing, and we're a huge GM Financial dealer, what I am seeing is that the back end, or the front end, it would be, of the delinquency rates in your portfolio changing from what it was just a year and a half ago. So, which in turn is going to cause those credit scores. But I really don't think it's going to be much credit, as what Max and Bobbie were pointing to is on the negative equity side, that I think we're going to see like a hammer here coming up this year. And even
people are giving them back in record numbers. We had a show 2 weeks ago here where I was quoting some Experian statistics, and Experian said delinquencies are way up, and they attribute it to the way we've been selling cars. That the repossession rates are going crazy.
You know what they're going to call them? Remember, we had strategic foreclosures. You're going to have strategic repossessions.
Strategic repossessions.
I would say that the position of our country and the things that
Geno, we call them voluntary repossessions.
Play a huge role in that.
Well, when you're upside down 50 grand on a car, Max.
Yeah.
Right, that's what I'm saying. We call them voluntary repossessions.
Yeah, it is.
That's a used Kia Soul.
But it's not just going to be that though. I would tell you right now, like, if you are in the business of spy-fi and you're not killing it, you're about to be. I mean, look at our industry.
I'm
as a
talking
whole.
about the people. I'm not even talking about people who are in special finance. I'm talking about somebody gets a car, they paid way too much
Right.
for it. They're upside down 50 grand.
Right.
They're going to go stovepipe that car, buy another car, and
Right.
then walk away from that car.
But
Yeah.
there's still going to be special finance.
They're already doing that.
There's
They're
going to be
already
special
doing
finance
that.
the next time is the thing. And if we think about for a minute, just think about this for a minute. In our own industry, our sales staff is about to take a 80% pay cut to do the same level of work, and all the things that they've put money into, and all the things we were like, buy a boat, buy a house, go get in debt, this old school shit that we used to do, that everybody's been doing, they're about to find themselves in a special finance situation. Half of the tech industry, Carvana, look at all of these massive companies, and then you've got ChatGPT that just came out, which is for a completely different conversation, but will also eliminate or will change a lot of positions that are out there. Special finance, I would guarantee by the end of this year, if not maybe first of next year,
Subprime's going to be huge.
going to skyrocket. And the manufacturers that get involved in giving first-time buyer credit again and really focusing on that will be the OEMs that are going to see a huge lift. I'm not suggesting that they do that or it's a good idea, but if they don't,
That's
we're gonna
brilliant, Bobbie. That's brilliant. First-time buyer programs. Manufacturers need to get both
back
feet
in it.
back into that.
And I want to bring this back to a point that Geno made earlier, because I've always been a huge proponent of making sure all the departments are connected. So as you had all these huge front end grosses and you didn't have the penetration on the products like Max was saying, if you're not actively mining through your service lane to sell F&I products and through your database for the people who were declined or you weren't able to get it approved, when you don't have a process put in place, maybe some of your salespeople who aren't going to be able to make the money on the actual sales, you need to think about either repurposing or putting a pay plan together to help them start increasing your finance product penetration, not included in the sale of a vehicle, but by prospecting through the lane or through your database. That is a great way to help increase profits when you're seeing the market normalization and constriction happening.
But guys, I think at the end of the day, right, we are at the beginning, right? Because inventory,
We're really at the beginning.
I agree with you, Max.
This is a big opportunity.
Inventory is just coming back. In 6 months, you will be drowning in inventory. You will not know what to do with the Silverado or the Volkswagen Jetta, right? You wouldn't know how to set it on fire.
Yeah, but that's a normal August, right?
So once these cars, right, once you start looking for additional parking space, rental, where you can park the additional inventory, at the same time, the wave of strategic repossessions that Geno mentioned will be increasing, right? And the interest rates will still be at this level. So you're looking at an avalanche that's coming down, right?
And how many Carvana cars are going to hit the market?
Don't forget about all the Carvana cars going through the
It
auction.
doesn't have to be an avalanche if everybody gets their shit together right now. Right now, you can.
Nobody will get their shit together, Bobbie. Don't be naive. Nobody's going to get their
It
shit
is
together.
not naivety to take the positive approach, Max.
Stop being naive, Bobbie.
That
85% of them will not get their shit
I
together.
train on
Thank
high
you.
performance culture. I train and teach high performance culture for sales and for BDC professionals. And I am telling you right now that this is an opportunity, not a downfall. We're getting our inventory back. We don't need to be fearful and alarmist of it. We need to get our shit together and get to work. It's just that simple.
And by the way, let me say something on a comment that was made earlier about BDC and minimum wage. If you're treating your BDC department like a minimum wage department, then you're failing as a dealership, and you've already failed as a dealership.
Max quote.
I have five. You're the only person. It shouldn't be the only person able to make 6 figures in your BDC department is your BDC manager or your internet manager. It should be your BDC agency.
Right.
Okay. So you have to recognize the importance of that and the importance they play in this market right now. And you have to pay them as well as you would a salesperson. Okay?
Maybe better.
Depending on how the lead comes in, it could be better. It could, but they should be at least on that same playing field of an opportunity to make that kind of money if they excel in their field. Where
Right.
A lot of dealerships put that as a second. They answer the phone, whatever, and they haven't spent enough time in that department and recognizing the importance of hiring in that department and keeping your people in that department and paying your people in that department
Right.
what they're worth and what they bring to the dealership. So I saw the minimum wage comment. I've been wanting to say something for the last 15 minutes, but it was on there, and that is extremely important as we move forward in this market.
Yeah. If
Let
you're
me
in a
clarify. I was just quoting Max with a naive statement.
We know.
we pick on each other, guys. Don't get after him. You know,
I was just quoting Max in case anybody missed it.
You know, can I throw one thing out there real quick? I know we're running out of time here, but if you're working in one of those BDC departments where you're treated like you're on minimum wage and you're in a high performance culture and you have results, I'll move you to another store as a sales manager and give you all the training you need. Just go to leadthisteam.com.
Well, let me jump on that for a second. I know that most BDC people will work for minimum wage and free pizza.
100%.
That is not true.
100%.
Okay, this has been a 1 hour great broadcast. I think we solved all the problems of the world. Geno, Walsh, thank you for being here. Bill Hall, and of course April Simmons from the dealer world. Jennifer Briggs, the Empress of Executive Management. Bobbie HerrMax, the Queen of BDC, and Max, the resident curmudgeon. Everybody wave goodbye to the audience.